Hello everyone and welcome back to the good stuff. I know you're wondering how come there's another game between Paul Charles Morphy and the James Stanley Kipping, since we only said there were two of them. Well, two of them were actual games over the board, and this game is not, well, so to say, over the board, because only Kipping is looking at the board, whereas Morphy is holding a blindfold simultaneous exhibition. So this is one of the games Morphy played. Again, the third game and final against James Stanley Kipping. Morphy has the white pieces, and again, a few words from Lawson's book regarding this Birmingham meeting, as everyone was really eager to see if Morphy would make it in time, if he would be able to play in the tournament, and they even already paired him in round one, because they thought, I mean, he's Morphy, of course he will come and play, but he didn't. He was late on purpose, and he just wanted to face Howard Staunton. So a little bit from the book. So some of the strongest participants of this Birmingham meeting: Staunton, Folkbeer, Löwenthal, Saint Amand, Owen, Bird, and Kipping. So those are some incredibly strong gentlemen. And they say the grand tournament had started on August 24th. In the hope that Morphy might arrive in time to compete, his name had been entered and paired with Mr. Smith. When Morphy failed to arrive, Mr. Smith was given the point, as there was an odd number of players. Of the players worthy of special note, Staunton, Löwenthal, Folkbeer, and Saint Amand all won in the first round. So pairings for the second round brought Staunton against Löwenthal, and imagine this. Löwenthal defeated Staunton and kicked him out of the tournament, whereas Folkbeer defeated Saint Amand and faced Löwenthal in the finals. And in the finals, for the remainder of the tournament, play was to be held in London, the grand tournament being suspended the next day for Morphy's blindfold exhibition. So the grand final will have to wait for Morphy to complete his blindfold exhibition. And then what happened as the conclusion, the long delayed final result of the tournament did not come until September 23rd, when Löwenthal, by defeating Folkbeer, won first prize. It was a fine recovery, considering that he had suffered defeat by Morphy only 3 days before the tournament. The prize money was greatly increased, since Morphy had declined the £70 that had been offered to him to come to England. So it does seem like Löwenthal gets the last laugh, maybe not the entire laugh, as he did not face Morphy, but he did win a great tournament here. And I think even if Morphy wasn't sure if he would defeat Staunton had they played, I'm pretty sure he was more than confident now when he saw that he lost to Löwenthal. But like Morphy said, one game in a tournament means nothing, and this is exactly why Morphy wanted to face Löwenthal in a series of games, either the best of 10, best of 12, best of 16, whatever, but not like a game in the tournament. So we're gonna get back to that and see what happens in Morphy's relentless pursuit to face Howard Staunton. But now the third game between Paul Charles Morphy and James Stanley Kipping, Morphy being blindfold. So let's see what happens. Morphy again opens with e4. Sorry about that. We have e5. Knight to f3, knight to c6, and now Morphy doesn't go for bishop to c4. So unfortunately we will not see another Evans Gambit game between the two of them, but rather goes for the Scotch. So d4 is on the board. We have e captures on d4. And now, rather than recapturing on d4, bishop to c4. And here, Kipping goes for bishop to c5. Bishop to b4 is also kind of playable, but it's a very tricky idea, because after c3, black will capture, and you can just castle, give up another pawn, and you're going to get this position where white give up a lot of pawns, but his bishop pair is really fully operational, and the black has to be very careful here. But obviously, Kipping knows that Morphy is well versed in the secrets of the Scotch, so he just goes bishop to c5. We have castles by Morphy, and Löwenthal also commented on this game. He said that c3 is playable here, but c3 knight f6 goes into a very well known line of the Gioco Piano that was known even back then, so of course Morphy tries to avoid that. Morphy castles here, and now comes d6. Again, Kipping shows that he also knows a lot of theory, because, for example, knight f6, e6, e5 attacking the knight, and d5 go into a well-known line of the Italian game, the Max Lange attack, which also is avoided here. So d6, and now finally c3 by Morphy. We have queen to c6, not really interested in grabbing another pawn, and bishop to g5. Now challenging the queen, queen g6, and only now Morphy captures on d4, c captures on d4. We have a small capture fest here, captures, captures, and now queen captures on g5. And here Morphy goes for f4. Not worried about opening up this diagonal because he can always play something like king to h1, and there are no problems here. Here we have queen to g6 by Kipping, and now king to h1. Now Morphy unpinned, and the knight can finally move. And here the problem is you cannot go for the pawn. If you go for the pawn, then just rook e1 wins the queen, so that's not happening. So here Kipping went knight to h6. It's a bit of a mystery why knight to h6 instead of knight to f6, but he probably thought Morphy would march forward with the e pawn, so maybe he wanted the f5 square for the knight, who knows. But okay, here he played knight to h6, and it probably confused Morphy. As you can see, I used this quote by Lowenthal himself above the board. The accuracy with which Mr. Morphy opens his games when playing blindfold is truly remarkable, and this is pretty much true for all the games Morphy played blindfold except for this one. Because here you have to be very careful. You should either go f5 or you should go bishop to b5 check to kind of force black into hiding or something like that. Just continue developing knight to c3. But the move Morphy played, it seems like a reasonable move, just taking away the g4 square from the knight, so the knight cannot go here, cannot go here. But this actually loses the game for Morphy. So Morphy missed it because he was blindfold, but hopefully you are not, as you are watching the video. And feel free to pause the video here and try to find the winning idea for Kipping while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations, you have just defeated Paul Charles Morphy. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's bishop captures on h3. And this is just a wonderful idea because now queen captures on e4 will come with check. And not accepting the bishop is just, I mean, you don't have any good moves here. You're being, checkmate is being threatened. And really, there's not at all anything you can play here. So Morphy did capture the bishop, but now comes queen captures on e4. This comes with check, and Kipping will just win back the piece. So Morphy completely missed this idea. It's a two-move combination, but playing blindfold, it was enough for Morphy to miss it. So queen to f3, he immediately offers a queen trade, and now comes queen captures on d4. So the knight is recaptured. Rook to e1 with check, and now king to d7. So the black king is a bit loose, but white king is complete. His defenses are completely busted. So here knight a3, defending the bishop here, and now just bishop captures on a3, removing one of the defenders of the bishop on c4. So of course you cannot recapture, but first bishop to b5 check. We have c6, and now comes b captures on a3. Morphy tries to trick Kipping into capturing the bishop here, but then just queen captures on b7 and it's all over. King has to move, and you lose the rook here because the king has nowhere to go. The rook completely cuts off the king from the e file. You would have to go back, and now the rook is undefended, and that's just it. Or you don't even have to play this. You can even play rook to c1, and it's checkmate whatever black plays. Even if something like this, then this is checkmate. So Morphy had an idea here. However, Kipping, of course, not interested in the bishop on b5, just continued development. Rook h to e8. We have rook 8 to c1 by Morphy, and now comes d5. Now the queen no longer has access to the b7 pawn, so Morphy shifts it over to b3. Queen to b3, and now again, can you capture the bishop? Well, if you capture it, then queen captures on b5 with check, and it's incredibly tricky. Again, the rook controls the entire e-file, and king would have to be very, very careful. Of course, you cannot go to, king to d8, then rook captures on e8 is checkmate. So you'd have to go king to d6, and then we just have rook captures, and queen captures, and we get this endgame where Morphy would be up the exchange, but with the king so loose, it's very hard to say that he would be able to do something about it. Even queen e4 check just trades the queens, and black has more pawns. It would be, white would definitely be better here, but how much better, it's hard to say. So here instead, after queen to b3, we don't have captures, but rather king to c7. So very, very precise play by Kipping. And Morphy continues with bishop to d3. Now the bishop can no longer stay there. We have rook to e3, black rook to e3. Now with the double attack here, and now Morphy trades rook to e3, queen captures on e3, and now rook to b1. Morphy goes after the b7 pawn, and now just queen captures on h3. There wasn't anything Morphy could have done about this, so king to g1. And now, well, you can immediately continue harassing the white king, even go knight to g4. Kipping sees no reason to allow queen captures on b7. So he plays b6, and now rook to e1 by Morphy, hoping to make some sort of a nice rook lift here, but just rook queen g3. The king has to defend the rook, otherwise you're going to lose the rook. So king f1, now queen captures on f4 with check. King g2, and now queen to g5 with check. King f1, and now knight to g4. Not much to do for white here. The e7 square is now covered by the queen, so Morphy goes rook e2. But now knight to e3 check, and it was in this position that Paul Morphy resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done. You can give up the rook, but then you're just in a terrible position, down material, or you could continue with king f2, but then just rook to e8, and again, white has no moves here. Whatever you play, let's say you play anything, is just a very nice king hunt. Queen h4 check, king f3, queen h3 check, king f2. Now we're going to go queen f1 check, and now the rook is lost. King g3, queen captures on e2, and so on. So after knight to e3, Morphy resigned, and an excellent victory for James Stanley Kipping, who was able to get one victory against Paul Charles Morphy, albeit a blindfold one, but still. You know, any victory against Paul Morphy is a great victory, and he probably, told the story of this great victory to everyone, like for his entire life. I mean, who wouldn't? So yeah. This is one of the games from Morphy's blindfold exhibition. I'm gonna try and look for some other ones. Maybe they're interesting. If they are, we're gonna show them. If not, we are continuing Morphy's pursuit to face Howard Staunton over the board in a series of games and prove that he is not only the finest chess player in America, but also in Europe, and of course, by that definition, in those days, the entire world. So yeah. That's the game. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Jonathan Paul Madrid Abaca, Manfred Sickenberger, Solomon Yakubov, Thomas Blondell, and Jeremy Wade for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Morphy saga, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And if you don't know, the first link in the description below starts the Morphy saga from scratch, so if you're new to the channel, you can also check that out as well. See you soon.